it's 7:30. We'll call our meeting to order. Before, if you want to just do a roll call.
Sure thing. Desart?
Here.
Apple?
Here.
Garcia? Here. Krajewski?
Here.
Rutledge? Here. Tornatori?
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. We have a quorum present in the room. Did anybody sign in for public comment, Laura?
No public comment.
Okay, Chairman's report, just a brief update on some legislation. Couple of ones that were on our county legislative agenda. The first one was House Bill 572, and that was the pet finance bill that was introduced into legislation. It was at the Consumer Protection Committee meeting last Monday, and it passed unanimously out of the committee Monday, 6-0. Seth Lewis from DuPage is also on that committee. I've spoke to him several times regarding that support for that bill. So that one made it out of committee. The lobbyists did have a lot of public comment and witness slips put in. They activated all of their pet stores around the state and their employees. And then this yesterday, they had the ban on the sale of cat mill dogs and cats at the same committee. That one took a lot of public comment, a lot of witness slips put in, over 3,000, I believe. And the bill, there was 5 bills in Springfield, all had certain bans on animal sales from high commercial bred places. And 2 of them, Representative Hernandez and Representative Chesney, had identical bills. And so they did a switch. So Andrew Chesney, the rep, took the lead on the bill. They had 25 co-sponsors from DuPage County. We had Seth Lewis, Amy Grant, Deb Conroy, and Anastasia Murray were on that bill. Although I did hear last night, I haven't confirmed that, and check on Amy Grant pulled her name off as a co-sponsor of the bill. But it passed last night 5-1 in committee. And so came out of the committee, and it's got 25 or 24 co-sponsors of that bill. So it looks pretty good in the House. At least there's a lot of support. Our lobbyist is working with the rest of the DuPage delegation to try to get them on as co-sponsors on that bill. But we'll keep you posted as it continues. That's all I have. We'll do a motion for approval of our minutes of February 16th.
So moved, Desart.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, any corrections, additions? Seeing that there are none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Administrative update, Laura?
Yes, thank you. So for this calendar year, we've seen just under 300 animals. This time of year does tend to be slower for us, but we've seen the beginning of kitten season already starting with our first bottle baby kittens already arriving at the shelter. Preparing for this expected larger number of animals, we've been busy preparing to fill some vacancies in our organization, and also gearing up for volunteers to come back. When these, especially for during kitten season, when these bottle babies come in, we just really have we don't have a big enough pool of volunteers that can handle the, every couple hours of feeding and pottying, and sometimes that falls on our staff to do it until they can be ready to move to that foster that can handle a little bit older kitten. So our staff's been putting together some informational videos, just what's involved in fostering, and online training, since we can't do a lot of that in person right now. So our hope is to significantly increase the number of fosters that we have as we really get deep into the kitten season here in the next couple months. We do have we have our schedules set for the surgeries on the vehicle. We begin that May 7th. We've also been very busy working with our DuPage Animal Friends Board, and I thank Vice President Stephanie Reinsmith for joining us this morning, gearing up for Giving DuPage Days, which is April 26th through the 30th, and we have some pretty big fundraising goals in store. So keep your eyes out for more information on that. And this week, everybody here will be getting their invitation to our April 21st Volunteer Appreciation event, which will be virtual. We've also been busy preparing for our upcoming vaccine microchip clinics, and Dr. Hannick has a new initiative to spay and neuter 100 pit bulls. So she's been motivated by the increased number of just larger pit bull breed dogs that come in that are still intact, and in her efforts to try to reduce bites, to try to reduce undesirable behaviors. A lot of times spay neuter can help with that. And also those might be animals that we don't want breeding again. So we're working on a plan to bring in another outside veterinarian to work with her maybe once a week, scheduling those animals. So we've been doing some heat mapping of where are these animals coming from in our county from a stray perspective and owner surrender perspective. And then our next level of heat mapping is to look at our bites and kind of overlay that and see where we might want to kind of target our efforts. So that's taken a lot of planning. And then our educational programming that was virtual kicks off towards the end of this month. And we've also been working with risk management. We've got a new online bite prevention program that we're going to be offering actually to DuPage County employees. So meter readers, some of those people that are out in the field that might be going to private residence homes and how to prevent those bites. We're going to be offering a live training, and then we're going to be recording it also and putting it through our phone training DuPage program. So, and that is it.
Great, thanks, Laura. And next month, I've asked Laura to bring forward, start some discussion. Maybe you can just mention it, Laura, regarding some flexibility with our fees that we charge, specifically more for low-income people who are contemplating surrendering their animal because they, one, can't afford it, and there may be some issues behind that. But then, or a stray that comes in that there's a surrender fee to pick it up when it's been in our facility for a few days and they can't afford to pick it up, so they just leave it here. And you know, they say that a lot of times it's better to get the animal back to where they came from versus going to an adoption or a rescue somewhere. So we're looking at our code and our fee schedule, and Laura's looking to see if we can some flexibility in for some certain situations, and she's had a couple that have come up that she would use as examples. So I believe you'll have that for next meeting, Laura.
Correct. Yeah, I'll be working with Trevor to ASA Prindle to draft a suggested language for resolution to change the fee section of Chapter 5 animals to allow some flexibility for case-by-case financial hardship, you know, whether or not we're having them provide some type of proof or just maybe they're signing a certification on their receipt. We would still be tracking what that impact is, but in the effort to make sure that, you know, animals are going home, and we have seen an increase with the pandemic, especially people, you know, their animal accidentally gets out, but they're out of work and whatever little money they have, they can't always scrape together, you know, a couple $100s for a reclaim fee. Or likewise, they're living out, we've had situations, people living out of their cars, they can barely afford the $25 surrender fee. So, and a lot of times we're, from a surrender perspective, we're getting those animals anyway, because they just drive down the street and let it out and hope that it ends up, you know, back in our arms anyway. So yeah, I will have that prepared for our next meeting. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Laura. Yes, Sheila.
Thanks. Brian, just a quick question about the volunteers that are coming into the building. You have had none in the last year coming in, or a very small number?
We've had a small number. The biggest population of our volunteers were really our fosters, which are more your stay-at-home volunteers, and they were just kind of coming and going from the shelter for pickup and drop-off or medical or adoption. The volunteers that we have had back in the building have been a select number of volunteers that clean our cat rooms, our bunny volunteers, especially since we've had that large increase in rabbits in the building. And then we have a handful of high-level dog volunteers that have been helping with our dogs in the back.
Are you going to pick back up on the volunteer training that you guys were doing before all of this hit?
Our goal is to first work on bringing back the existing volunteer base and then assess what our needs are, you know, who's coming back, who's maybe not coming back. And if we need to do some recruitment, then we might open up some virtual volunteer orientation sessions. But I think our current focus is going to be how do we get our existing volunteer base back? You know, we have just over 300 active volunteers right now in our system, and by no means are they all back.
Sure.
So my best guess would maybe we had with the foster base, maybe 100 of them back this past year.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Hey, anything on legislative update? I gave a little bit of update on my chairman's report. Do you have anything on that, Laura?
Yeah, I wanted to, you've talked about 572 and 1711. And I wanted to just make sure there was an opportunity if anybody had questions about why we are recommending to oppose 1762. I presented Cheryl and our legislative committee kind of a brief synopsis of our position and concerns with that bill, but if anybody had questions, I just wanted to open it up to the committee.
Can I explain briefly 1762?
Of course, yeah. So they're making some changes to the requirements for stray hold for animals, and then also some requirements, what type of conditions need to be met before you can euthanize an animal. Some of our concerns around the language that they've introduced mandates that if somebody finds an animal that we would, and no owner comes forward, we would have to give that animal back to the finder if they wanted it. And what that ignores is if there's any type of public safety issue, does that finder have the capacity to meet whatever unique medical or behavioral needs that animal has? So that kind of sweeping language, just because they found it, you should give it back, may not be best fit, or maybe that person's already got a significant number of animals in their home and wouldn't even be qualified through our adoption program because they've exceeded their pet limits. There's a lot of concerns around just because you find an animal, get it back. There were also some concerns about if somebody surrenders an animal to the shelter, this bill would also say they have the right within a certain number of days to reclaim it, which we actually allow right now. But it is, we have used the flexibility of denying reclaim when we've had public safety situations. And I'm thinking back early to when I was first hired, we had a family that had multiple dogs that had a history of getting out, had a history, all three dogs had a history of biting. And then finally, one of their dogs got out and killed another dog. They surrendered it to our shelter, and then a day later came back to reclaim it. And in that situation, the determination was made that they have not demonstrated responsibility with their pets. They've been a public safety issue. It's already killed another animal, and we did not allow reclaim in that situation. So there were concerns about that. It also had some mandates in there around exercising animals, which we are all for, both mental and physical enrichment while they're in our care. But once again, mandating that dogs get outside twice a day doesn't take into account the fact that there might be animals that are on rabies observation that we should not be handling, or animals that are, once again, unsafe to get out of their kennels. So we do our best, even when animals are exhibiting some fearful behaviors, to get them out, but to mandate it through a law that we have to get them out twice a day could present some safety issues for our staff and volunteers. And then there were also some concerns around euthanasia language that stated that in order to euthanize an animal that had no other potential outcomes, they had language in there about how an animal is determined to be dangerous. And the language and criteria that they state don't align with how animals are actually deemed dangerous. So, they were requesting that we had to get the opinion of a behaviorist. Well, in the Chicagoland area, there's maybe only less than one hand can count the number of behaviorists available. It takes months to get into them. And the minimum fee, and we just paid one, is around $500 just for an initial consultation. And so there's just a lot of things that I think there's some good intent with the bill, but some of those aspects of it just really weren't thought through.
Great. Thank you, Laura. Moving on to, oh, yes, Grant?
I read it through all that over the weekend. Did this committee vote on our position on those bills, or did that come out of legislative? How do we come up with our position on those bills?
We gave the ones, I think we may have talked to them at our committee, but we gave them the legislative 572 and 1711. Those two have been part of our county through on legislative committee. Those were priorities there. 1762, I'm not sure, we haven't discussed it at our committee, and I'm not sure, we just sent information that to Cheryl that we had concerns about that bill. I think Dr. Hannick and Laura gave our concerns. I'm not sure we've taken a position except for what Laura just said. Staff, opposes it because of those issues.
But I mean,
but I don't think it's on our legislative one.
If DuPage County is going to be taking a position, doesn't somebody have to vote on it?
Sure. Yes. 572 and 1711 have been. I'm not sure on 1762. I don't believe that has, but I'll defer that to Dawn and her committee if we want to take, or if we want to vote on taking a position on that one.
I'm not saying any of the positions were wrong. I just think a procedure you gotta follow.
Sure. Well, the first two we talked about in my chairman's report, those have both worked through legislative and our list. So we've approved those at full board and also legislative.
Oh, hi, this is Cheryl. Can I say something real quick?
Sure, Cheryl, go ahead. Probably know a lot more than I do.
No, not at all, but we will have at legislative committee next week, both those bills on to officially support. We went ahead and slipped them because, to Brian's point, they were on our legislative agenda that the county board's already adopted as part of our state program. The bill that Laura just talked about, 1762, I do have it as opposed. But you're right, Grant, the committee will officially vote on the bill list, about 6 pages, next Tuesday. So it'll be an official record.
Thank you, Cheryl.
You were right, Grant.
I can play it at home all the time.
Hey, you gotta get them where you can, right?
And again, under old business, we'll get there. Just, yes, so Dawn, go ahead. Sure.
I just wanted to make a comment about the legislative items. I had questions on several of them, and so I actually reached out to Dr. Hannock, and we had an email exchange that answered all my questions or gave me more information. I have a call into Rep. Barbara Hernandez, who's from here in Aurora, about HB 168, which is the animal forfeiture bill, which sounds wonderful on its face. It's the one where if you're accused, if you're arrested of animal entertainment, if you will, dog fighting or whatever, that all animals in the household comes out of the home and you're not allowed to own animals anymore, which sounds wonderful on its face. But my question is that this is, in this country, you're innocent until proven guilty. So what if you're innocent of the crime that you're accused of? Does your animal gets forfeited, if you will? And I just still have questions on this bill is what I'm saying.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, back to old business. I know we have in the audience Stephanie Reinschmidt, who's been the board member of the DuPage Animal, but also is now the vice president of the foundation or the organization. And I know she's going to be leading the Giving DuPage. I don't know, Stephanie, if you want to mention anything regarding that or you want to wait. But Giving DuPage, or at least give us the dates when that's going to happen. It's going to be shorter this year. Last year, I think it was the whole month of March, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So this year is 5 days instead of 30. It's going to be April 26th to April 30th. We are creating a robust fundraising campaign with our fundraising committee that's been re-engaged this year. And we just look forward to any help you guys can provide with community engagement to help build some support for this fundraising campaign that we'll be initiating in April.
Thank you, Stephanie. And from our last year, I think we're the #2 fundraiser. We lost out in the last 2 minutes before they shut the thing down. Somebody put a donation in that surpassed us, but we raised a good amount of money. We were #2 last year, and we did win some of their daily contests, like most people, or I think it was the Mother's Day one, or one of the days at a contest. So we won the big Jay Cutler autographed helmet. So.
Yep.
So I think you guys did something with that. But again, I thank our DuPage Animal Friends because they've been a great supporter of raising money for us to be able to do a number of things that we wouldn't be able to do without their support. Any other old business? Dawn?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to ask, is there any marketing or any anything we can put on our social media for the fundraiser?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can send, is email the best way to reach you, or should I send it to Brian? Okay,
You can send it to email. Laura will give you all the emails of our board if you want to then communicate to all of us.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to make sure we can get it out there on social media.
We can provide social media templates for you guys to post, or you can post whatever you'd like to advertise on your own. We can also provide some graphics for you and just easy shareable content.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other old business? Okay, we'll move on to new business. We have any new business? Okay, seeing that there are none, we'll have a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're adjourned and we will see you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.